All right, here's a rundown of how to install the Xtool F1 lens halo light. So we open it up and inside we see we have our hanging tag. We have our lens cover that goes with the hanging tag. We have our mount with the star of the show, the LED ring. We have our remote and mount. And underneath that, we have our rear channel. This has the remote module for dimming, power on, power off. We have our power supply, 12 volt. And then we have our cabling that we're going to run through the head unit. So first things first, let's go ahead and remove the card. That'll pop out quite easily. To remove the mount, we will take the cap off. It's just kind of pinched in there with the cardboard paper. And then this will come out. Next, take the remote out, just slide it out of its mount. And then this will pop out as well. We already removed the wiring. Our rear channel. The channel will come with two command adhesive tabs that you can place on the side or on the back. We have our two-part 12-volt power supply. As well as some small accessories. We have our remote card. This will tell you how to use the remote and everything you need to know about it. And that's probably gonna be way blown out. Alcohol prep pad to clean the back of the F1 so when you apply your adhesive, it'll stick better. A battery for the remote. An additional command strip if you need to replace one of the ones that came with it. And an Allen key to remove and put the screws back for the head unit. As well as extra thread if you decide that you need to remove the tag off your cover. We do need to use the cover to apply the lens mount, so that's why it doesn't come fully assembled. All right, so if your head unit's not further down, go ahead and power on, move your head unit down, power off and unplug it. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and remove the lens. So this is the stock cap that came with it. What we want to do is as we take this off, one hand to turn it and one hand to catch it, just in case. Now that it's loose, let's put that someplace safe. And you see now we have, oh, actually let's go ahead and remove this plate so we don't have any loose parts dingling around in there. And now you see we have these 4 screws in each corner. Go ahead and use your supplied Allen key, and we're going to go ahead and loosen that up and remove it. Okay, now that those 4 screws are removed, shut the lid. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and plug this back in, power it up, and then send the head unit to its topmost position. Be careful when you're moving this around with those 4 screws removed. You don't want to be pulling on the handle because that will pop right out. So now that we have it plugged in, turned on, let's go ahead and again, just send the unit all the way to the top. All right, once it's there, go ahead and power off and unplug. Okay, let's go ahead and take the top off. Be careful because the forward LED right here is connected by a small wire. So we want to make sure as we take this off, we kind of pop it up and rotate it to the front. And as you see right here, there's a little piece of tape holding that wire in. We can go ahead and pull that tape back just enough. You don't have to fully remove it. We can go ahead and unplug this cable. And now our head unit is fully detached. Now what we want to do is let's go ahead and apply our mount. Let's raise the cover up. Let's grab our lens. And what we want to do is carefully, always make sure you have a nice firm grip on it. You don't want to drop this. And as you see, the lens not only replaces your stock cap, but if we reverse it, we have these 2 indentions here on the lens. Let's see if we can, right here. The lens cap has 2 tabs that will lock in with that. So the idea is we can use this cap to start threading and securing the lens again. Because once the mount is applied, you'll see that the lens is pretty flush. So getting your hand in there and turning, that's going to be extremely difficult. So once we apply the mount, we can use the cap, find those indexing pins, and then that's going to give us the ability to thread it back in. So again, be careful, always try to use 2 hands, keeping positive control. What we want to do is we come back up. We want to get one of these center slots and thread our wiring up through one of them. Ideally, one of the 2 in the middle. And once we have that, go ahead and pull that a little bit tighter. The rear tab on the mount will lock in. That'll keep it from spinning around as you tighten this. The threads are pretty long, so it'll take a little bit. Make sure you have good positive control. You don't want to over tighten this. Once it's snug and you start to actually slip on the cap, that's good enough. If you over tighten it, the lens comprises of several parts and you don't want to strip the threads, so snug is all you need. And let's go ahead and take a look. All right, as I said, there's this rear tab right here and that'll lock it in for you. And once it is, and just kind of give it a little shake. Again, loose is acceptable. It's going to be secure. It's not going to fall out. That lens is going to hold the mount to the top. And let's pull this tight just again to be safe. Let's go ahead and push the cover all the way down. And as you see, for your wiring, you have a connector here, connector here. And let's go ahead and test those. Make sure they fit. They bend quite easily, so if you need to get in there and just kind of pop the connector out a little bit, go ahead. Just a little bit will do. All right, perfect. Go ahead and disconnect that. Now what we want to do is on the opposite end where we have our crimped red and black wiring, we want to thread that through the furthest corner on the emergency stop side. Just like this. It might be a little bit snug, and once it's through, just kind of pull it up and keep it loose. Now that we have that, that's going to secure because you can't pull it all the way through. And we want to reconnect our front LED. We can reapply the tape. And next, what we want to do is, again, we want to connect these two for our ring light. Might be easier to set that down and use both hands. Okay, now that's connected. We'll pull this up. And before we do that, actually, let's go back a step. So we have this adhesive tab. Let's go ahead and pull that off. We can apply this to the rear here. Underneath our fan. Right to the aluminum heat block. And then let's connect this. All right, perfect. And let's kind of just tuck this underneath. Something like that will be good. And now we're good to go ahead and reapply the cover. Pulling through your wiring as we do, pulling out any slack. And we want to be extra careful not to get this pinched between the cover and its base. So let's make sure we get that tucked in there too as we bring it down. And you'll know when you're properly sat because the cover fully encapsulates the base plate, so it'll sit nice and snug. All right, once we've done that, let's go ahead and power this back on and bring the head unit down. Once we've done that, we can unplug it, or excuse me, turn it off and unplug it. And we will reapply the 4 screws we removed earlier. All right, now that that's done, let's send the cover back down. And what we want to do is let's turn this around. Now we have our cable exposed, if I can get that focused. Again, we have our red and black wiring. And you might still have your sticker here, you may not. Let's go ahead and get our alcohol pad out. And depending on how you want to attach this, you can either attach it flush to the rear like this, or if you are short on space and you need a little bit more, you can put it on its side. I also have a VESA bracket that fits on the back here if you want to attach this to a monitor arm, much like this. So If you have that attached as well, this will only fit on its side. So where we want to apply the adhesive, let's wipe that down. As well as anywhere on the back. We also have our remote and mount. That can go on the side if you'd like, or that'll sit in the back just as well. For this case, we'll just center it all in the back, out of sight, out of mind. And let's go ahead and remove the tags. And then firmly, as best as you can, apply this to the rear of your machine. You don't want to go too low. The reach on this isn't too much, and then you don't want to get too low here where you're kind of binding up on this cable. And now we have our DC adapter. So we have red and black, just like our cables. This is a quick connect. So what we'll do is make sure we feed our black and our red into the correct coloring. Simple enough. You will need to push down pretty hard on this. And they'll sit there pretty flush. Reapply it, it'll snap right back in. Make sure everything's nice and snug. Let's go ahead and apply the remote. And we can go higher so it's easier to reach over and hit the power. If you haven't yet, let's go ahead and insert the battery. And now let's go ahead and plug it up. I do assemble and test every kit before I ship it, so when I plug it in, it should stay off. And now we can go ahead and turn it around. Let's grab our remote from the back and let's power it on. And there we are. So these will ship, again, I set it to 100% and then I turn them off before I ship them. And we have several modes. You can do 10%. You'll see 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 100's the best for it's not going to get throttled by the remote back here, so you're not going to get flickering on camera, as I'm sure you've noticed there, and you're not going to get so much electrical feedback hum. And then we have 3 modes. We have jump, fade, and strobe. So if you had a craft show somewhere and you're looking to get a little bit of attention, something like this, especially during the holidays like Halloween, might be kind of fun. And let's go ahead and send this back to 100%. Let's go ahead and plug this back up. Power it on. And again, once this boots up, we can raise the head again. And we will check our full range of motion since we assembled this all the way at its bottom. If we send it all the way to the top, we'll see how much this will take. And I don't know if you can see it from there. Plenty of slack still, which is great. You don't want that to get too tight and possibly pop that out. So we'll send that back down. So if we turn this off, and if we put, say, a piece in there, you can hardly see it. But once we turn it back on, there you go, nice and bright. a lot of good visibility now. Again, if you're at a craft show and you want to entertain somebody with your laser, this is a great way for them to actually see better what's going on. And then for your lens cover, so you have your tag pre-tied, you have these two holes, you have your show side, and then you have your rear side. Rear side is going to have a seam right here. Make sure you have your text toward the show side. And just thread it through. Pull it tight, and then about as much slack as you want. Usually I'll put a pencil through here. Like that, and I'll tie a knot. And that'll give you a good amount of slack there. And then you can go ahead and trim the tails on the cord. I leave a quarter to half an inch. And then once that's there, go ahead and pop that in. All right, that's it. Not too much to it. A little bit of disassembly. As long as you don't damage the unit while you're disassembling the head, it shouldn't void the warranty. So that should, if that is a concern, that's something to really consider. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me and let me know. I'd be happy to answer them for you.